The day everything changed. It began subtly, a faint tremor beneath the surface of what had always been an unshakable world, before erupting into the cataclysm that would redefine my grandparents' lives forever. Arthur and Beatrice, their names echoed through the halls of our family history like a comforting melody, synonymous with stability, warmth, and the quiet dignity of a life well lived. If you find yourself relating to this story, or if you've seen similar patterns in the lives of those you care about, please consider subscribing to the Elder Scam Stories channel. We need to spread awareness, and your engagement helps immensely. Also, please let us know in the comments where you watched this from. Your feedback helps us reach more people. My grandparents lived in a charming, slightly rambling house on the edge of town, a home that smelled perpetually of old books, Beatrice's lemon zest, and Arthur's pipe tobacco. It was a haven, built over decades of hard work and quiet contentment. Arthur, a retired school principal, possessed a calm, measured voice that could soothe a crying child or command the attention of a boisterous staff meeting. Beatrice, my grandmother, was a whirlwind of gentle energy, her hands perpetually busy, knitting, gardening, or baking the most divine apple pies. They were the anchors of our family, pillars of common sense and unwavering integrity. Their retirement years were what most people dream of. They had worked hard, saved diligently, and now enjoyed the fruits of their labor. Their days were filled with leisurely mornings over the newspaper, afternoons tending their prize-winning rose garden, evenings spent by the fireplace with a good book or a classic film. Finances were never a source of stress. They lived comfortably within their means, their savings account a testament to their prudence, enough to last them well into their twilight years with plenty left over for their children and grandchildren. They were independent, proud, and fiercely self-reliant. They had always handled their own affairs, never bothering anyone, rarely asking for help. This independence, a quality I had always admired, would, tragically, become their greatest vulnerability. The first crack in their seemingly impenetrable world appeared, as it often does, deceptively small. It wasn't a sudden, dramatic event, but a slow, insidious seep, like water finding a weakness in a dam. Arthur, ever the meticulous one, had been trying to pay a utility bill online. He wasn't particularly tech-savvy, but he prided himself on keeping up, even if it meant a bit of fumbling. On this particular afternoon, a pop-up appeared on their computer screen. It was aggressive, flashing red, proclaiming, "Virus detected. Your computer is infected. Call Microsoft support immediately." It even played a blaring, grating alarm sound. Beatrice, startled by the sudden noise, hurried over. "Arthur, what on earth is that?" Arthur, initially annoyed, peered closer. "It says, a virus from Microsoft." "Good heavens, do you think it's true?" They were both of a generation that trusted institutions, especially large, reputable ones like Microsoft. The pop-up looked official, complete with a professional-looking logo and a toll-free number. Their immediate instinct was concern, not suspicion. They wanted to fix the problem, to restore the quiet order of their digital lives. Arthur, with a sigh, picked up the phone and dialed the number. The voice on the other end was calm, authoritative, and reassuringly professional. "Thank you for calling Microsoft support. My name is Daniel. How may I assist you today?" Daniel was a master of his craft. He spoke with a polished, faintly accented voice that sounded educated and trustworthy. He guided Arthur through a series of steps, instructing him to download a remote access program. Arthur, slightly overwhelmed but trusting, followed the instructions precisely. Within minutes, Daniel was in control of their computer, a digital phantom manipulating their files and settings. "Ah, Mr. Reynolds," Daniel announced with a grave tone, "I see the problem. It's quite severe. A sophisticated malware. It's attempting to access your financial data. We need to act quickly to secure your system." Arthur felt a knot of dread tighten in his stomach. Financial data? This was serious. He looked at Beatrice, whose face had gone pale. "What do we need?" to do?" Arthur asked, his voice a little shaky. "First, we need to cleanse the system," Daniel explained, his voice maintaining its calm, professional cadence. "This will require a one-time security upgrade. For a threat of this magnitude, it's a premium service but essential. It's a non-refundable charge of $499. Arthur hesitated. $499 seemed steep for a computer fix. But Daniel had stressed the sophisticated malware and the threat to financial data. He thought of their carefully managed nest egg, their peace of mind. What was $499 compared to losing everything? "All right," Arthur conceded. "How do I pay?" Daniel smoothly directed him to purchase gift cards from a nearby supermarket, specific ones, mentioning that, for security reasons, this is the only way to process immediate payment for this advanced service. He explained that it ensured the transaction was untraceable to their personal banking details, a clever twist that sounded plausible to someone not steeped in cybersecurity. Beatrice, her brow furrowed, drove to the store. She felt a prickle of unease, but Arthur had seemed so convinced, and the man on the phone sounded so knowledgeable. They had always been careful with money, but this felt different, an emergency. She bought the cards and called Daniel back with the codes. This first step, the purchase of gift cards, was the hook. It seemed small, contained, but it established a precedent. It broke down their initial resistance, normalizing the idea of paying in unusual ways for security. It also created a sense of urgency and privacy around the issue, laying the groundwork for further manipulation. For a few days, peace returned to the house. The pop-up was gone. Arthur and Beatrice felt a sense of relief, grateful to Microsoft support for their prompt assistance. Daniel even called back, just to confirm the system was stable, reinforcing their trust, but Daniel was far from finished. A week later, he called again. "Mr. Reynolds, this is Daniel from Microsoft support. I'm afraid I have some concerning news. During our last intervention, we discovered that the malware you had was part of a larger, more organized criminal network. Your computer was just the entry point. We've traced anomalous activity linked to your IP address, suggesting your identity might be compromised." This was the escalation. The narrative shifted from a simple virus to a sinister web of identity theft and potential financial ruin. Daniel spoke of federal investigations, rogue elements, and the urgent need to protect their assets before they were seized by the authorities as part of the criminal proceeds. He mentioned secret accounts being opened in their name, suspicious transfers being made. The fear amplified. He told them they needed to move all their funds into a secure government-monitored holding account to protect them from both the criminals and the impending federal scrutiny. He explained that this was highly confidential, a classified operation, and that they must not discuss it with anyone, not even family, as it could jeopardize the investigation and even implicate them. Arthur and Beatrice, already rattled by the initial virus and now terrified of identity theft and government intervention, felt trapped. Daniel was their only link to understanding this complex, frightening situation. He spoke of digital forensics, encrypted transfers, and liaising with the FBI. He made them feel special, chosen, as if they were vital to a grand, secret operation. He wasn't just a tech guy anymore. He was their protector, their confidant. Over the next few weeks, the calls became constant. Daniel would call at all hours, keeping them on the phone for hours, sometimes days. He would sound stressed, urgent, saying things like, "Mr. Reynolds, the criminals are closing in. We need to transfer another tranche of funds immediately," or, "Mrs. Reynolds, I've just had a call from the Treasury Department. They're asking about your accounts. We must complete this transfer before they freeze everything." They were instructed to wire money from their savings, their checking accounts, even to take out a line of credit against their house. They went to different banks, making small, frequent transfers to various accounts, sometimes under different names, sometimes to cryptocurrency exchanges Daniel claimed were secure government conduits. Each time, they were told to lie to the bank tellers, to say the money was for home renovations, for a new car, for a sick relative, anything to avoid suspicion. Beatrice, who had always been meticulously honest, found herself whispering lies to bank tellers, her heart pounding in her chest. Arthur, a man who had never once bent the rules, now felt like a criminal, complicit in something he barely understood, all in the name of securing his future. The cognitive dissonance was immense, but Daniel had them so deeply enmeshed in a web of fear and secrecy that they felt they had no choice. They believed they were protecting their family, their legacy. They believed they were following official government instructions. They started losing sleep. Arthur grew gaunt, his usually robust frame shrinking. Beatrice, once vibrant, now moved slowly, her eyes shadowed with worry. Their routine fell apart. Meals were often missed, their garden lay untended. The phone became their tether to Daniel, their only source of information in a terrifying new reality. They stopped answering calls from friends and family, worried someone would ask too many questions, worried they would betray the secret operation. I lived a few hours away, caught up in my own busy life. My calls to them became less frequent, though I always tried to check in. When I did call, their answers were vague. "Oh, we've just been busy," Beatrice would say, her voice lacking its usual lilt. Arthur would sound distracted, often ending calls abruptly. I attributed it to their age, maybe a bit of forgetfulness, or simply them enjoying their quiet life. I missed the red flags, the subtle shifts in their demeanor, the growing silence on the other end of the line. Their independence, which I respected so much, also created a barrier, a reluctance to pry. The first major alarm bell rang when my mother, their daughter, visited them. She found the house uncharacteristically untidy. Beatrice looked frail, and Arthur seemed distant, almost lost in thought. They were evasive when asked about their health or what they'd been up to. My mother, noticing the unusual amount of mail from various banks, casually asked about it. Arthur snapped, something he never did. "It's nothing, just some paperwork. Everything's fine." Later that evening, my mother noticed Arthur's computer was still on. She glanced at the screen and saw a strange application running, one she didn't recognize, and a chat window open with someone named Agent Smith. Her heart sank. This wasn't right. She quietly took a photo of the screen with her phone. The next morning, she gently tried to talk to them again, this time more directly. "Mom, Dad, is everything okay with your finances? You seem worried." Beatrice burst into tears. "Oh, Helen," she sobbed, "it's been awful." "Arthur, tell her." "Please." Arthur, defeated, finally confessed. He recounted the entire story, from the initial pop-up to the endless wire transfers, the fear of arrest, the secrecy. His voice trembled with shame and exhaustion. Beatrice sat beside him, nodding, occasionally interjecting with a detail she remembered. They spoke of Daniel, their protector, the man who had promised to save them. My mother listened, horrified. She knew instantly it was a scam. Every detail screamed it. The gift cards, the secrecy, the secure government accounts. She tried to remain calm for their sake, but inside, a storm raged. She felt a profound sense of guilt, anger, and utter devastation. How could this have happened? How could they have been so thoroughly manipulated? She called me immediately, her voice tight with suppressed panic. "They've been scammed, badly. I don't know how much they've lost, but it sounds like everything." My world tilted. My calm, sensible grandparents scammed? It felt surreal, like a plot from a TV show, not real life. I dropped everything and drove to their house. The house, once a sanctuary, now felt like a mausoleum of their former lives. My grandparents, once vibrant and self-assured, sat on their sofa, looking like ghosts. Their eyes, once full of a gentle wisdom, now held a deep, profound emptiness. The shame was palpable, a heavy cloak draped over them. They struggled to meet my gaze, their voices barely above a whisper as they recounted the tale again, each detail afresh wound. We pieced together the timeline, the dizzying array of transactions, bank statements unearthed from a hidden drawer, told a horrifying story. Account after account drained, lines of credit maxed out, even a reverse mortgage on their beloved home, signed under duress, with Daniel on the phone guiding them through every step. The total sum was staggering, beyond anything we had imagined. Hundreds of thousands of dollars, their life savings, their retirement, gone. The shock was a physical blow. My mother broke down sobbing. I felt a cold wave of nausea. The anger was immediate and fierce, not at my grandparents, never at them, but at the faceless monsters who had systematically, cruelly dismantled their lives. They had preyed on trust, on fear, on the very values my grandparents held dear. We immediately contacted their banks. The response was disheartening. Because the transfers were initiated by my grandparents, because they had lied to the tellers, because the money was sent through various channels including cryptocurrency, recovery was almost impossible. The funds were gone, dispersed into the digital ether, untraceable. We filed a police report. The officers were kind, sympathetic, but realistic. "We see this every day," one officer said, his voice weary. "These scammers are often overseas organized. It's incredibly hard to track them down, let alone recover the money." It was a disheartening bureaucratic dead end, adding to the feeling of powerlessness. The aftermath was a long, painful descent into a new reality. My grandparents, once financially independent, were now reliant on us. Their pride was shattered. Arthur retreated further into himself, haunted by the feeling that he had failed his family, that he had been so foolish. He stopped reading, stopped tending the garden. Beatrice, though still trying to put on a brave face, suffered from severe anxiety attacks, constantly checking the locks, jumping at every phone ring. They became paranoid, suspicious of every unknown number, every unexpected visitor. The house, their beloved home, was now a financial burden. With the reverse mortgage and their savings gone, keeping it was unsustainable. The very foundation of their independence was gone. The decision to sell it, the place where they had built their lives and raised their children, was agonizing. It felt like another act of theft, another piece of their identity ripped away. Moving them into a smaller, accessible apartment near my mother was a logistical and emotional nightmare. Every box packed, every piece of furniture moved, was a painful reminder of what they had lost. They were grateful for the support, but their eyes held a profound sadness, a constant questioning of how did we let this happen. Their health declined rapidly. The stress, the shame, the loss of purpose took a heavy toll. Arthur developed severe depression, his once sharp mind clouded by despair. Beatrice struggled with memory issues, exacerbated by the constant anxiety. The vibrant, independent couple I knew was replaced by two frail, broken individuals. Their spirit dimmed, our family rallied around them, but the strain was immense. My mother became their primary caregiver, dealing with their emotional fragility, their doctor appointments, their newfound financial dependence. It created tensions, unspoken resentments, and a profound sense of grief for the lives that had been stolen. We mourned not just the money, but the carefree golden years they had earned, the dignity they had lost. The day everything changed wasn't a single 24-hour period, but a prolonged, agonizing transformation. It was the day the first pop-up appeared, the day Daniel first spoke, the day they sent their first gift card, and then it was every day after, as the scam tightened its grip, until it finally broke them. My grandparents never fully recovered, not truly. They lived out their remaining years with a cloud of sadness hanging over them, forever marked by the betrayal. They eventually found a quiet peace, supported by our unwavering love, but the spark of their independence, the joy of their self-sufficiency, never returned. Their story, however tragic, became a painful lesson, a stark warning. It taught us that scams are not just about money. They are about psychological warfare, about dismantling trust and destroying lives. It taught us that vulnerability isn't just about age, but about isolation, fear, and a trusting nature in a world that often exploits it. It highlighted the critical importance of open communication within families, of checking in not just on practical matters, but on emotional well-being. It taught us to be vigilant, to educate ourselves and our loved ones about the ever-evolving tactics of fraudsters, and to shed the shame that often keeps victims silent. We, as a family, have become fierce advocates for elder fraud awareness, sharing their story whenever we can, hoping that by speaking their truth, we might prevent another family from experiencing such devastation. It's a small consolation for a monumental loss, but it's a commitment born of profound love and an enduring pain. If you find yourself relating to this story, or if you've seen similar patterns in the lives of those you care about, please consider subscribing to the Elder Scam Stories channel. We need to spread awareness, and your engagement helps immensely. Also, please let us know in the comments where you watched this from. Your feedback helps us reach more people. The scars remain, a testament to the day everything changed.